Hey folks, I'm Rob and I'm back with another Player 2 Plays, and we're continuing the voyage to Atari 50 by looking at a bunch of games that I think are interesting. They're in the collection, so hopefully giving you some ideas on what you might want to check out should you pick it up. This episode is going to focus on the Atari 2600, and this is where the bulk of the collection sits, and a bulk of the games here have been seen in other collections elsewhere, so I'm not going to retread sort of a lot of the stuff. Like, a lot of these games are games you know. It does have 5 unlockable games. I've unlocked a couple of them. Breakout is one of them. You have to just get pretty far in the Reimagined Neo Breakout. So what we're going to do is we're going to flick through, and I'm going to look at a couple of the later games. Well, that's Combat 2, I know that much. So we're going to look at some later games. One of them is Dark Chambers, which is a... So, it's inspired by a game called Dandy, which is the game that inspired Gauntlet. Normal. We're going to go... Let's go. We'll go normal. Yeah, it means you start a little later. You start a few levels in. And so, the base thing is like Gauntlet, where you need to work your way to the exit, collect treasure, and whatnot. Big difference is how the enemies operate. They operate quite a bit differently. In Gauntlet, of course, you had monsters that had traps that spawn them. In Dark Chambers, the monsters are leveled. And so what that means is, see, we've got this wizard. We shoot him, turns into a ghost, a skeleton, and then I forgot what the base monster is. And so you see, when we destroy their generators will also sort of devolve as well. So it plays quite a bit differently, but similar. Like, you're still doing a lot of the same stuff. Finding treasure, finding the exit door like we've got there, getting upgrades to your weapons and to your spells, getting bombs and keys. And it feels a bit weird to say, well, this is 1989, because it is, and that's... And, you know, by that point, you know, the Atari 2600 was 12 years old, and so pretty outdated. But it's you know, Atari were using it as the budget platform at that point, so yes, its games were kind of ropey compared to those you'd playing, you know, on an NES or a Master System. But still, you were getting some stuff really cheap, and I mean, this is the point. Dark Chambers was not one of those games I played. Well, that's some treasure. But it's definitely one. But like, oh, that's the exit. We don't want to go on the exit yet. But it was definitely of that era when, like, we got 2600 as a hand-me-down a few years earlier, time this came out, and we were buying some of the games that were coming out at that time. So yeah. But when you look at this for a moment, this was a console that was designed to play Pong, really, right? And tank, so combat and Video Olympics. And the former is here, but the latter isn't, sadly. Bit of a shame that you can't get they didn't put Video Olympics on, which is the version of Pong released for the 2600. There's a doorway. That'll give us a weapon upgrade so we can do more damage. Now let's head to the exit. And I mean, you got to acknowledge that it's a bit of a shame that the way things went. But still, I think it's cool to see that, you know, this hardware was designed to play, you know, single screen games with fairly simple sprites and whatnot. Yet here it is, you know, playing a multi-room dungeon exploration and dungeon crawler. Like, I believe there's, I don't know if the 2600 version fits all the levels in, but there's 26 levels on the other versions of the game. Atari 50 also includes the 7800 version, which is actually really neat, and it's a game I actually quite like. And that's actually one of those little recommendations I'd probably pick. Oof. Oh, there we go. Double tap the fire button to use the bomb, and I just wasted it. Great. The 7800 version, of course, has two fire buttons because its gamepad has two fire buttons, so the bomb is on a separate control. But here on the 2600, you've only got the one fire button, so yeah. The levels are a little featureless, I'll admit. Oh, that's poison. You don't want to touch that. And so it does make navigating them a little hard. I got to admit. Like, they can sort of feel a little featureless. They still got to be impressed at what they've done to get a game like this to even run. You know, the big thing with the 2600 is it's a system which basically has 5 objects on screen. Like, you have your player, and there's careful work with the player here to reuse them. You have a missile, and you have a ball. And yeah, again, it's what you needed to make Pong work. And yeah, funnily enough, you get the you can see sort of what it all means. Now, there's the exit, but I don't know if I want to go in the exit yet without at least trying to grab all the things. There's some more health. Let's take the ladder down. Stage F. Let's get a bomb again so we can actually use it. And I imagine this, even as awkward as it is here on the 2600, I still feel you'd get a lot of fun with it if you had a second player along. Poison. Admittedly, playing this solo is probably a bit limiting, which is quite a bit different from the 7800 one, which is actually quite a good game to play solo as well. Although, admittedly, I would love the opportunity to play it with someone. Oh no, we didn't get a key. Lol. So we've got to find the key. There's the exit. We don't want to go in the exit. Obviously, because usually that means there's something important behind that locked door. And there's the key. There's some treasure. And then we it definitely is a little too easy to get lost sometimes. Poison, we don't want that. So let's get back to where the exit is. We got some treasure though. That's always a nice boon. Okay. There we go. Level G. Big thing, of course, is we don't really want to die here. We just want to see how far we can get. And just be careful. Thankfully, one thing I do like with Dark Chambers is it doesn't have the gauntlet constantly energy draining. That's one of the things that I always hated from Gauntlet, the design angle. Ooh, there's a lot of flicker there because it's trying to draw too many enemies. Oh, there's poison. We don't want to go that way anyway. And there's a door there we can't get through. Okay, let's go back. Trying to really think about it. So the option for difficulty, I don't know what impact it has directly on the game itself, but it does change your starting level, which is why we were starting at level D. Putting on hard will start you a little bit further, and I believe the beginner option throws you at level A, and it's sort of like, I wish it did make it a little harder because it's sort of a bit. It is plotting a bit right now. Like, let's be honest. I did like that. Did have to take that hit to get through. Game can be devious sometimes. Just sometimes. Okay, that won't work because we need to get to work our way through to get to where the key is so that we can unlock that door, because that's probably going to lead us to the exit. And we also want to get to that treasure. Yay, the key. Ah. That led to the treasure. Alright, so let's go and find the exit door now. Oops. Wasted the bomb. I am so smart. The thing is, you don't really need the bolts that much. It's not like Gauntlet, which, by virtue of being on far more powerful hardware, could throw lots of enemies your way. Here, you're not really, like, that's the most you'll see. Again, hardware is limited after all. And so I don't think it's worth, well, there's another locked door there. Oh, that was a trap. That's a bad thing. Well, we're low on health. We gotta try and find that other key. We'll see if we don't die before then. Okay. Hello, key. There we go. There's the key. Now we just have to not die before we get to the exit. Which is, might sound to be easy, but might not be, so. Well, there's the door. There's the exit. Level H. Level H. Put it in H. Oh no. That's an ominous start. We lost our last square of health as we walked. But there's a key. We couldn't do much there. Oh, it's game over. Oh no. No. Well, that's Dark Chambers. It's kind of primitive. And you might be wondering, why would you play a game on a 2689? Well, many reasons. The 7800 version of this is in the pack, and it's definitely a recommendation. The 2600 version is probably more a curiosity. But we'll go through. It's Fatal Run, interesting game, but that pushes the 2600 probably a little too far. And it's the 2600 version of Gravitar, which is another unlockable. But I think we're going to go for... Also, that's another one, Race 500, which was originally released as Indy 500, but obviously licensing means you can't get that. But we're going to go for... We're going to go for a game that is probably one of the best games to play in the pack. Solaris. Now, this one was sort of the first wave of this budget 2600 thing that happened in the late 80s. So it started out supposedly as a tie-in to The Last Starfighter. When that movie didn't do so well, Atari pulled its stuff and of course the crash happened. But they released it and enhanced it. It's very much inspired by Star Raiders, which we'll come to later. Oops. And again, this is a machine from 1977. Pretty cool effect. So the idea in Solaris is that you need to find the lost planet of Solaris. Along the way, you've got to take on enemies, and so let's jump, and you jump between systems. So we've now arrived in a new system, a new sector, and our goal is to take on these enemies. Okay, so clear that sector out. And what our goal is to keep jumping to sectors, taking out enemies, liberating planets, rescuing trapped pilots. And again, and I was talking about earlier, like this is a machine that's designed to play Pong. Right, to be the cheap way to play Pong at home. And yet it's doing like some pretty decent sprite scaling, considering, right? Now, part of that is because it has to draw, like, the 2600 doesn't function like a lot of systems at the time were. Well, in the 70s, nothing really functioned like that, but basically it didn't have the concept of a screen. All it did was draw a line for graphics at a time, and you're basically racing the raster beam that was drawing the television screen. And, I mean, what that meant was that you could... Actually, this is more dangerous. Cool. Another sector cleared. Anyway, we are getting a bit low on fuel, so what I'm going to do now... It's worth trying to just take out as many of these enemies as you can, because they'll eventually harass the planet that we're trying to get to. So, the galactic map comes up. I think the plan is let's refuel. We're getting low on fuel. Probably didn't help we didn't have the cleanest hyperspace jump there. Oh no. Turns out we made the right move in jumping because this planet is now under attack. So, there's the fuel bay. Alright, we refueled. Take off. Yes, you got to keep yourself focused in those hyperspace sequences, and if you don't, you end up using more fuel when you jump. Oof, and we've lost a life. So the big thing with Solaris is that you kind of need to map it. You kind of need to map where all these systems are, where they go, so that you can try and make your way there. I've never come close to finding Solaris in my time with this game. But as a kid, I did borrow it from some people and never really got anywhere. Alright, we're going to jump into the corridor, so... Alright. So we're on an enemy world now. We've got to get our way into this corridor. Oh no, there it is. There's the corridor. There's a key. Yes, we got the key. Blast our way through that corridor, which is basically a blockade. Ooh, that can really throw you when you're working make progress of like, oh, there's, because you got to be so quick to get that key. Now this sector. All right. Fuel first, then we can look at taking the fight onto the enemy. Alright. So yeah, normally when you hit hostile worlds, you need to rescue those pilots. But we're on an allied world right now, so... So we're all good here. Refuel, take off. Like... I feel weird to say it, but I really am impressed with the graphics for this game. For 1986, for a machine that is as primitive as it is, this is actually quite impressive. It's quite a great looking game. Part of that is that its programmer had, like... They're still sort of the era of the solo programmer, even with the 2600 at this point, and though, you know, other parts of the industry were focusing... Oh, we gotta hurry up. Oh, we got my scanner damage. I didn't realize that. Okay. Come on. Okay, we've got to get to that planet. Alright. They're slimy. These little suckers are slimy. There's another one. Oh no! We failed. So this sector has become a red sector, which means our controls are reversed. means the Xylons win. Wow. But basically, this sector... Well, there we go. That's Solaris, which is an utterly cracking game, and a game I've just had an utterly terrible run at. I'll admit, I've never actually quite mastered it. It's one that really is one of those games that's a lot more to it than you would expect. And a lot more than you would expect for a machine like the 2600. It's one of those games I think is absolutely a game worth playing in this collection. Should you pick up Atari 50, which I think I've pretty much said, yeah, you absolutely should. So I think I'll leave it there. Thank you all very much for watching. As always, if you haven't already, do subscribe to the channel to get more P2 plays from myself and other members of the Player 2 crew. Check out the main website where you can see all, reviews, write-ups, and more. And of course, the Pixelcast and other podcasts. And you can support us, going through Patreon to get stuff early and other bits and pieces like that. So I'm just going to wrap it up here and just say thank you all very much for watching.